On our most recent Regal Princess cruise, we had bed bugs.
Right, and we want to make it clear from the beginning that this video is not intended to diss Princess in any way, because we did end up having a great cruise after all, but we did want to recount our experience that we had with the bed bugs.
Because people always wonder, are there bed bugs on cruise ships? And every hotel in existence has had to deal with bed bugs, and cruise ships are just a floating hotel, really.
Right, so our first day on board, we had a great time. We did all the normal things that everybody is excited to do on embarkation day. And on Princess, we were excited. We had lunch in the dining room. We had that famous orange souffle. We toured the ship. We did the entertainment, had dinner in the dining room. And we went back to our room for the evening to settle in. And that's when I discovered 2 bugs in the bed.
So we took pictures of the bugs and Googled pictures of what bed bugs look like, and I went down to guest services. I showed guest services the pictures and made it pretty clear we thought we knew what it was, and they said they would send somebody up to investigate. So I went back to the room, and a few minutes later the supervisor for our steward showed up at our door. He did a preliminary investigation, and Tracy gave him the bed bugs out of the trash can that she'd killed, and he said there was nothing he could do that night. And we weren't happy with that, but he insisted there was nothing he could do that night. So we were forced to stay in that room overnight.
Yeah, they said that they were going to do an investigation the next day. So I think at this point I was kind of telling myself that maybe they aren't bed bugs. Let's just get a good night's sleep.
And I didn't want to sleep in the chair, even though I really wanted to sleep in the chair, but I want to be tough for my wife so that she wouldn't get... Anyhow, so we endured the night in the room, and we woke up in the morning to...
I was bitten all over my arms, my face, my legs.
Our lower back. I had bug bites too, but I'm a little dark-skinned, and they don't show as much, although I was itchy everywhere. I'm itchy now just thinking about it, but...
Yeah. They're very itchy, and I still have marks. 3 weeks later, I still have the marks from the bugs. So we called... Actually, I think you went back down to guest services or called the steward or something.
Yeah, we walked out the door and talked to our steward, who said that they were going to do an investigation. So we got dressed as quick as we could and left the room so that they could do the investigation. We came back to our room about 3 hours later, and they hadn't done the investigation. I guess they were waiting on the supervisor had to get authorization from us. So we gave him authorization and left for another hour and came back, and he'd done the investigation.
And confirmed that, yes, they were bed bugs.
Well, he never used the word, but he did say that they wanted to move us to a different cabin, and that they wanted to launder to protect the ship. They wanted to launder all of our clothes at their cost, and so...
And they were also going to take our luggage and our shoes and steam our luggage and shoes. So basically, we didn't have anything that had soft fabric. We had everything else: our toiletries, blow dryer, our cases of soda, our 2 bottles of wine. But the supervisor also was talking to Joe and asked Joe to be discreet about the situation, and that they would be discreet at the same time, thinking that, where did the bugs come from? It could have been on the ship. It could have been from us. And then that's when it started on my end, that I was stressed out that it was a possibility that we brought the bugs.
Many of you may not know, but we're in our nomad life. We're waiting on our new house to be built. So we don't have a home. We sold our house. We're using that to fund the new build. Watch these videos to see that. But because we don't have a house, we've been staying in rentals here or there, and we just transitioned from Missouri to back to Alabama, then then to Galveston, and we've been in hotels along the way. So it was a slim possibility that we brought them.
And it really was a major source of stress for me at that time, because at that time I never even considered the possibility that it could have been us. And then so I was stressed out that we were leaving a problem behind in the current house that we were renting.
And so we were moving from port side forward to starboard aft. And we had to carry all of our stuff because I asked for a cart and they said they didn't have one available. So, schlepping your sodas and your wine in garbage bags.
Mm-hmm. They gave us garbage bags.
The full length and breadth of the ship and up a stairs or a floor was strenuous for us in our 50s, and we wish we would have had more help with that. Mm-hmm. We did put all of our clothes in laundry bags for them and labeled everything what was in which bags, and we did special bag for what we needed for the formal night, which they promised they would have for us in time for like 5:30 for dinner for formal night, because the first night was formal night. We both forgot to put shoes in that,
and they did. They had our clothes back to us, so we were able to enjoy. Well, it was kind of tight. We weren't sure. Yeah. I don't think we went to dinner dressed in our formal clothes.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I do remember having to go back to the cabin and then being so relieved that our formal wear was there. And that was probably the first happy moment I felt on the cruise, because truthfully, I had broken down in tears many times.
Since we discovered the bed bugs.
The bed bugs.
So yeah, we then the next morning we woke up and maybe we just discovered new itches, but they changed the sheets again for us. We have to commend our stewards both on the 10th floor and on the 11th floor, because they went above and beyond to change our bedding at every interaction to do what they could to make it better.
And they even came back and took the clothes that we were wearing the day before to launder them also.
So that was nice, because now we knew that everything we'd brought on board, shoes, luggage, everything that had a cloth surface had been laundered or heat treated, so that we wouldn't be taking that off the ship with us.
So at this time, when the supervisor was up taking the clothes, he took pictures of my bites because I was pretty miserable. And he said to go to medical if I needed to. And I don't know why, but for some reason I was just trying to tough it out. But later that day, I just couldn't tough it out anymore. We did decide to go to medical. But it was like around, 6 or 7 in the evening. And that's when we found out that medical is only open maybe 2 or 3 hours in the morning and 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon.
So if you're on Princess and you're going to have a medical incident, make sure you schedule it for their office hours. Of course, they do have emergency service where, it's a true emergency. They come to you 24/7. But if you need to go for a routine medical, make sure you do it during their hours.
Right. So the next morning we wake up and I'm still miserable. So I decided I'm going to go down to medical. It was during their hours. So I get there, and the lady at the reception desk, she was really nice. And of course, I'm in tears again. I was in tears like every day of this cruise so far. And she was just talking with me, getting information. And some older lady popped out from the back room, and she was fairly rude. She just did not have a good bedside manner, like, how are we supposed to know if your bites are worse than they were? And I'm like, I don't even know where that question came up, but she popped her head back. She left again, thankfully. And I think the receptionist knew, because I was visibly getting more upset. So she went to talk to the doctor, and the doctor told her to prescribe for me an anti-itch cream and also a pill that I can take for the itch. But she did let me know that the cost was going to go on our bill, and then I would just need to go to guest services to have them remove the charges. Well, that's another story. So we did. We went to guest services to get the charges removed. And the lady there gave me some papers to fill out. And so it was like 3 papers. And I'm like, let me go read them and I'll be right back. And we were separated at this point, and I'm not sure what you were doing, but I was reading these papers and I'm like, I am not signing this. And then so I showed Joe the papers, and what was your thought?
Yeah, we refused to sign it. So we went back to the counter.
Why?
Because they wanted us to agree to pay for this, and we weren't going to agree to pay for it in any way because it's not our fault.
We're disputing charges, yet they want us to sign papers saying we're going to pay it.
So after 3 interactions with the same person, she ended up finally talking to a supervisor twice who put a customer service credit on our bill for the $28 or whatever it was. At this point, we're really frustrated. So when we get back to our cabin, we talk to our steward who gets the supervisor, and we explain to him, hey, this cruise is really kind of sucking right now. We need you to do something to make it better.
Tears every day.
And so we gave him what we thought would be fair compensation. We didn't want a full refund, although we'd looked online and seen that other people had gotten that. Yeah. We just wanted maybe an excursion and a few drinks or a specialty dining, some things to make this better, to undo the bad. And so he said that seemed reasonable, and he talked to guest services, and he would get back with us. Well, 24 hours later,
nothing.
We hadn't heard from him, so we went to guest services ourselves.
Because it's now day 4 of a 7-day cruise.
Yeah.
And so...
so we went to guest services, and when we waited in line, finally got to the front of the line, we convinced them to let us talk directly to the supervisor, who didn't have an office, so we had to talk about this in a public area off to the side, which was not comfortable. Mm-hmm. But so we explained to her that, hey, since then we'd learned that the cabin we were originally in had a history of bed bugs. Mm-hmm. And when they'd pulled up the carpet in the inspection, they'd found bed bugs under the carpet. So
prior to this cruise.
Right. So, and they thought, because the ship had been in dry dock for 3 weeks, I guess they thought that would kill them. I think all it did was make them hungrier. So we now knew that it wasn't us who brought them on. Mm-hmm. And so we were...
It spurred our need to ask for some type of compensation, because at that point we were...
And we explained to her, and she said that they could, that we felt that it was criminal that they made us stay in an infected room overnight after we discovered them before sleeping the whole night, and that was what was really our main gripe.
Yes.
And she told us that the cruise was at capacity and that they were able to move us, but they had to wait till they confirmed with the guest who had the room that we moved to booked
didn't show up.
That they didn't show up, and that they were willing to give up their room because I guess they could show up at the next port and pick up and move in or whatever. So that's what she told us, why they couldn't move us that first night, because they didn't have a room to.
I don't know if I buy it, but that's what she said.
And so we explained that we wanted some compensation. We'd agreed amongst ourselves, we didn't want a full refund, mm-hmm. but we wanted something from them, things from them to make the rest of the cruise better, because we're still itchy. We felt the sting of them forcing us to sleep, because it would have been better had they have moved us the first night. We wouldn't have been near as bit.
Yeah.
So she said she'd take care of us. And then I said, well, do you need us to come back in an hour? She says, no, we'll find you. So we went back to our room, and we're getting ready for dinner, and the phone rang, and it was her. And she offered us an excursion, and I says, well, how about, in addition to the excursion, comping us a few drinks? Because we're not real drinkers, but we drank a few extra, or Tracy drank a few extra drinks, because the stress of it was horrendous.
Yes.
And she said no to that, and I said, well, what about adding Wi-Fi? She was just bound and determined this was all they were going to give us. And so we accepted what they were going to give us, and we took the excursion later. We'll tell you about that in a few minutes.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit better. I mean, it's still disappointing that we had to take it upon ourselves to ask for compensation. I was really disappointed about that. But the excursion that they gave us was the Mayan ruins in Tulum, and it also had a trip to the beach for a buffet.
And we want to talk the rest of the cruise. I mean, at this point, we had all of our clothes back, minus the stuff we'd worn that first day. And the next day, we had no new itches. So we were confident this was a little bit behind us.
Yes.
Now that the compensation question was somewhat answered, we were beginning to enjoy the cruise.
Yes.
Finally, day 5.
Yeah. And I'll have to say, will this hinder me from taking another princess cruise? And honestly, even though I feel like much of this could have not happened if they would have just moved us the first night, and still, with being upset that we had to ask for our own compensation, I would definitely take another princess cruise.
The food was amazing, the entertainment and the staff were exceptional.
Yes.
We've traveled on other cruise lines, both Celebrity and Carnival, and it was better in most ways. I mean, in every way except the bed bugs.
The bed bugs.
Which is a rare occurrence.
Right. So I want to say the takeaway from this is, like you said in the beginning, bed bugs can happen anywhere. It's not something that has to deal with dirt and grime. That's not where bed bugs come from. It's just very easy for them to be transpired with all the travel that we do. So
I will be investing in one of those black lights that's really bright so we can find them and inspect the rooms. Don't put your luggage on your bed.
Right.
That was a mistake I made. So if it did transfer from luggage contact, even though I used that little cloth to protect it, they say not to do that at all. So in the future, we won't.
And look for little dots on the sheets. And you can also, most hotels now will have a bed bug mattress cover that you can't unzip. But if they don't, look at the seams of the mattress and see if there's any crusty gunk in there. If so, that is a huge telltale that your room has bed bugs. For us, it was easy. We actually saw the bugs.
And the pictures I took were bed bugs, and I Googled what a bed bugs look like. It was an exact match.
So anyways, that's our story of bed bugs on the Regal Princess. But all in all, we still had a wonderful time. Just make sure you check your room.
Shout out to Nene. She was fun on the cruise, as well as our stewards.
Take care, everyone.